How deep does a child's bond run? Would you return home and search for a lost relative that you barely love or care for? That's the question I've asked myself after watching the first episode of Lovecraft Country. You can find it streaming on HBO. It's written by Misha Green, and it's based off of H.P. Lovecraft literature. Hi, I'm Fox Indigo. You're listening to Fox on Flix, and I'm a lover of film and television all across the global Black diaspora, and I love sharing it with my audience. And if you're one who does love film, I would like you to share this with a friend or two. So before we jump into it, we're going to take a quick break. And also, we do have a guest with us. His name is Mackenson, and he'll be joining in the discussion. So stay tuned, everyone. Thanks for being here. Have you kept up with your herbal health? Strengthen your body's immune system and natural functions with spellbound herbals. Created in small batches, each herbal elixir is made from organic non-GMO plants and roots, organic honey harvested from New York State bees, and sealed in bamboo-covered glass to preserve freshness. Crafted to promote the specific needs of men and women, just a few drops in a glass of juice or water makes a world of difference to your natural health. For more details, visit the Spellbound Apothecary online at spellboundtoday.com and place your order. Also, for smokers searching for a natural alternative to tobacco, check out their herbal smoke blends, crafted from delicious flowers and plants that stimulate the mind, relax the body, and set the mood. Try enhancing your favorite bud strand with a few sprinkles of Third Eye Magic or Love Me Long Time. Available again at spellboundtoday.com. Greetings, friends. Thank you for joining us. I'm Fox Indigo, and you're listening to Fox on Flix with Friends. Welcome back. I appreciate you being here with me. I have a friend, and we're going to be discussing Lovecraft Country. You can find it streaming on HBO. I'm not sure where around the world you would be able to find it streaming, but I'm pretty sure like HBO is international. So, I want to introduce my friend. His name is Mackenson. Mackenson, say hello.
Hi. How's everybody doing? My name is Mackenson. Yeah.
You want to tell us anything special about yourself at all?
A songwriter, philosopher, I'd like to think. Yeah, and just a creative mind.
Well, I do appreciate you being here with me, and I'm actually really excited to do this podcast series with you. I think there's about, 8 episodes?
There's about 8 episodes, yeah.
So we'll be doing all 8 episodes. So again, if you're a lover of just Black film, Black television, and you want to expand your repertoire, please join us. We'll be doing this. How often do you think you want to do this?
Once a week.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Once
a week.
Cool?
Yeah, that's cool with me. I'll do it. So, join us, every week, and we will be having a discussion. We'll be breaking down every episode, and we'll appreciate you guys being here with us. Let's just honestly get straight into it. I don't like to waste any time really discussing. So, again, we are going to be reviewing Lovecraft Country. You can find it streaming on HBO. There's only one season. It has been written by Misha Green, and it is based off of H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft was an American writer. He was a fantasy sci-fi, kind of like, he wrote like really weird stories, and he became very popular. I believe in the early 1900s, his work was Very, very popular. And then when radio started, they did a lot of his stories on the radio. So I found that this was very interesting, that they kind of revamped his story with a black cast, because H.P. Lovecraft was a known racist. So it is very interesting that they decided to kind of like take his stories and just put black characters into them.
I wonder what made them even feel like they had the permission to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research and find
I'm
out.
Look into that as well. That's very interesting.
Yeah, why did she choose, or, you know, was it the like production company that came to her? But yeah, why did they choose his material to revamp and put these black characters in? I mean, it works.
I mean, I know he's a known racist, but I would also like to get into his like mentality, his mind.
Right.
Because there's a lot of like prevalent things.
So I know a little bit about him. I know that early on in his life, I believe his father was institutionalized, and he actually came from money. But then sometime during his life, he went to go live with his mother. And then after some time, she also was institutionalized. Mm-hmm. So he became like a writer. He came to like New York City, and apparently like it seems like they infer that he had some type of maybe mental illness. Mm-hmm. But I think it sounds as though his writing was his outlet.
I mean, coming from two parents who has mental illness, like you would think it would trickle down to him.
Yeah. So they said like him living in the city really had a heavy effect on his mental state. But yeah, I think we should both like delve into that deeper. Absolutely. And find out a little bit more. Absolutely. So usually I like to just kind of ask my guest, just off the bat, like, why? Okay, so we both watched this. Mm-hmm. All right, so yes. We both watched this. Yes. And so we're kind of just circling back around again, and we're just going to break down each episode. And we both enjoy this. I just want to know what drew you to this series and just in general. Okay,
so here's the part where I shout out Dick Gregory. Rest in peace. Rest in power. But he said something that was profound to me, where it's like black people should watch certain things to like heal their DNA. And when I seen, you know, the trailer, whatever, however I saw it, I just thought that it would be something that'll heal the DNA. Okay. And so, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the reason why I actually enjoyed this series, one, because I did know who Lovecraft was. Also, what drew me to the story is being a foundational Black American. I like the fact that they were showing the history of what Black America really is. I think that there's like this false idea that foundational Black Americans don't have a history, a deep history and culture, and that we don't have traditions. And that's what I liked. I liked showing that, you know, we do have Black parties, mm-hmm. We do have music. There is a deep interconnection, like interpersonal connection. Just in that first episode, even showing the history of, like, there's like a lot of historical facts that are thrown into it.
Which is why I think if you look at it, right, the dynamic, like there's a lot of like very accurate historical things, and there's a lot of like, okay, that's off the wall. Right. I think they do that purposely. Mm-hmm. So it makes you question, like, okay, I want to ask you, like, how real do you think this is?
What do you mean, like, how real?
Of course the monsters are fake, right? Mm-hmm. But even with what you just said, just in regards to like Black, you know, I guess our impact on culture itself. Mm-hmm. This started off with a quote that said something like, this is an American story. Like the truest. I think I wrote it down.
Okay, so I'm glad you actually brought that quote up.
They said this is a story about an American boy, a truly American story.
Yes, and I totally agree, and that's what I mean when I say that that I believe that a lot of people don't understand that foundational Black Americans are such an integral part in the history of America. Mm-hmm. We fought in every single American war. Mm-hmm. Who can be more American than the American slave? Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that quote, and I wonder how many people actually understood or really understand the depth of that actual quote, because it's one of the first things you hear. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you're watching it and they want you to notice, and it's not there for no reason, you know? Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's why, like I said, that's why I just had to watch this series. And I wish I remembered the name of the first episode, and I promise as we continue to kind of like keep delving in, we'll just like make sure that we name and let the audience know what episode that we're covering, but we are covering the first episode. And so the first episode follows Atticus. And just to go back, the characters, the actors, you have Jurnee Smollett, you have Jonathan Majors and Courtney B. Vance, and of course there are other like heavy hitter names in the series. Absolutely. That will definitely, absolutely. And the name of the first episode is Sundown, which is great. Perfect. Thank you, Mackenson. I have a feeling our podcast is gonna be thumbs up. Good job. Absolutely. Thank you. Right, Sundown, which really, again, is another thing to kind of focus on what was such the importance of why was it called, Sundown. Mm-hmm. It's so deep because, like we said, it's very historically accurate, and even I don't know if we're gonna get into the episode right now. Yeah, we can get into the episode, or we could kind of go through the plot. So let's just go kind of like through the plot of the first episode. The first episode, we meet our main character. His name is Atticus. He is returning home from being down south. We find out that he is a war veteran. He's coming home because his father pretty much is missing. He got a letter from his father that his father is kind of in search of his mother's lineage. Searching for his mother's lineage. And you kind of have this idea, or not even, they let you know up front that he has an estranged relationship with his father, and he seems to be closer to his uncle. Right. And his uncle is it seems he's kind of like a travel guide. Right. He writes travel guides. Right. For African American or Black people. Right. Which is historically accurate. And I did not know that until watching this. Okay. So which is insane. It was called The Green Book, and it was a book for foundational Black Americans if they were traveling through America to know exactly where they can, use the bathroom, where they can eat, where they can sleep, what towns to avoid. That was like extremely important. Yes. I could imagine like you would need one of those. Right. And that's kind of like the idea, or where the title Sundown comes, because in America, especially in the South, they had sundown towns, which meant not one Black person could be found in any of these white towns after sundown. Like that was just a right for white people to either put you in jail, lynch you, it was just kind of like a free for all after the sun went down. So he's returning home, and his uncle, who is this guide, is going to, they're kind of like following kind of like this little clue. They have an idea of where the father went, and that leads them to Massachusetts. And Artem. Yeah.
Artem.
Artem. And another thing that I like that was kind of historically accurate, because people have this idea that the North had no racism, and which is not true
at all.
It just wasn't true at all. They may have, I want to say, more tolerant of blacks, but it was just as racist, just as segregated.
It probably was just more because in the South, they needed slaves to work the fields and things of that nature. In the North, you don't necessarily need that, so they'll probably just sow disdain in a different manner. Yeah, well, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I would say the racism was there, but the use for the slave wasn't there like it was in the South. But they still had these hateful ways of how they still treated blacks.
Can't go in that restaurant.
Still can't go in that restaurant.
We're not gonna serve you.
Still can't be here
pull
after.
You over.
Right. So all that stuff was still happening. I don't know. I guess I don't know if I want to leave it kind of there, but the episode. I mean, what did you really enjoy? What are maybe 3 or 2 things that kind of you want to highlight? You don't have to say anything now. You could think about it, and we're going to take just a quick break.
Yeah,
all right. Perfect. So we're just going to take a little sponsor break. We're going to thank Anchor for sponsoring this podcast, and we'll be right back. All right. So thank you, Anchor, for sponsoring this episode. And before the break, I did, ask Mackenson, what are the highlights of the Sundown episode that really stood out for him?
One of the first highlights, which is it jumped out rewatching this, George and Hippolyta. That was just amazing. Even when he first got off the bus and his relationship with that woman, just okay, we'll walk together and things of that nature. But then to go right into a beautiful black relationship, that was amazing to me. And then on rewatching it, seeing who he was, Tick, he eventually you find out who he is, but he carried that bravado. That energy, that aura, and it was interesting to me because it's you'll carry it, it'll walk with you even if you're not aware of who you are just as yet. Yeah, right. It's there. It's there. You might have not nurtured it, but it's kind of just need that one spark that just wakes you up, and then it's like watching a flower blossom. Absolutely. Yeah. What stuck out for you? Kind of what stuck out for me. I didn't give you the chance to think of it. I just can't. No. Because I love sci-fi. Okay. So the daughter, I can't remember her name. Oh, okay. And I grew up drawing. One of my first memories, I was probably 4 or 5. A woman, I don't even remember who she is or what her name is. Shout out to her though. Yep, shout out to her. Yeah, whoever she is, I don't remember, but yeah, shout out to her. Diana Freeman. Diana. Played by Jada Harris. So Diana, I kind of resonated with her character because one of my first gifts as a 4 or 5-year-old was a stack of just printing paper and markers. Okay. And that just started my whole life from elementary school to college. I was an artist and I went to an art school, and that started at the age of 4 and 5. So watching her, draw that comic and the creativity, again, it's I enjoyed seeing something that wasn't cliche. It wasn't a trope. It gave layers to us as a people, this little girl who's, living in Chicago is drawing comics about space. Right. But then Yeah, she'll travel from different planets to fix like telescopes and stuff.
Right.
Like that's dope.
Right. And so for me, that actually was something that stood out to me. And the sci-fi, just the sci-fi aspect of it, that's what really like got me excited.
I could almost guess which episode was your favorite.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll get into that.
No, for sure.
So yeah, that was probably the biggest highlight for me, was just seeing all the sci-fi. And I don't really want to say too much for the audience. Right. And then the things that made me uncomfortable, obviously, were like the sheriff and just the little things that they were showing, kind of like when they were in the water. And you see, I think it was either the police officer or the fire hydrant when he turned it off. It's like, you're so out of place in this neighborhood.
Yeah, like you don't even understand the culture here.
Right. And you're kind of there to monitor their fun.
Right.
You know, it's kind of...
Just to go back to Atticus, he turned it back on.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I missed that the first time.
He turned it back on. Yep.
I totally missed that the first time. So it shows you that he is like secretly a rebel. He is secretly... against the system, even though he was in the army. Right. So again, yeah, like you said, watching it the second time, I caught other subtle little things and discussions that they were having, like him and his uncle having this discussion, and Tick saying how his father told him not to join the military because he would just be influencing others to do the same thing. And that was reflective of the scene where he's walking through the street and he sees that guy recruiting, and he stops for a second.
Just for a second.
And I wonder if in that moment he heard his father's voice.
I think he might have heard his father's voice. I think the person who was recruiting also recognized Atticus. So he might have been the same recruiter.
It might have been like one of those I see you moments. And it's kind of like, dude, do you know where you put me?
Right.
You know?
Like all these promises you giving these kids, that's not what I went and experienced.
Right, exactly, yeah. So that was something that stood out to me as well.
I want to ask you, the women of the show, like being introduced to them, the first time. And
I'm glad you asked me that, because watching Sundown, I was trying to figure out how I felt, because even the first time I wasn't really sure about how I felt about the characters. I'm still not sure how I feel about Letitia. I'm really, and even the dynamics between her and her sister. I love Hippolyta's character. I love Diane's character. But I'm really not sure.
That's extremely interesting. Like, why is that?
I'm really not sure how I feel yet. One, I do have a sister, but I'm 16 years older than her. Okay. So I don't have a relationship with her. Okay. So I was pretty much kind of like an only child. Even though I was adopted and I had other children around me, they were much, much younger. So I don't know if maybe I just don't understand the sister dynamic. I do have friends that are sisters. Like I have one set of friends, they're sisters, and their entire life, as long as I've known them, they've been like oil and water, and that always seems strange to me, because I never had a sister, so I always felt like, having some type of sister or brother, that would be something fun, and having that bonding.
It's supposed to be. But then it could get ugly as well.
Yeah, it can get ugly. Yeah. So I don't really know. I'm gonna have to really sit and think about that and analyze myself as to why I don't really resonate that much between the two.
Because when they were introduced as sisters, her sister's performing. I can't remember her sister's name right now. She's performing, and then she comes and she's like, yeah, well, wherever you got dragged out of, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like that tension. it is that tension, but then when they get on stage together, like the chemistry was just like, come on,
chemistry was there. Yeah, the
know?
chemistry was there. But then even later on, when you see Letitia at her brother's house and there's that argument, and you kind of can hear in the background that he is echoing the same thing that her sister was echoing, kind of like this, you're selfish, you just do what you want to do while everybody else has to be mature, everybody else has to be responsible, and you're being irresponsible, and we're supporting this, you know? So I don't know, maybe I kind of feel like she may be ungrateful in a way, and maybe that's why I kind of have like this aversion to like her character, to the dynamic between her and her sister.
If I could defend Letty, which I would love to do.
yeah, go ahead.
A rebel, somebody who you don't want to just sit, you know what I mean? Like they both stayed home, you know what I mean? Which is nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with going out to see what the rest of the world has to offer.
Absolutely not.
And you know, one of the things that they're mad at her about is missing their mother's funeral. And we don't know why. You know?
No.
We don't know why.
No. And I don't know. And maybe that, like I said, I'm going to have to really sit and think about that. Because I would label myself as a quote unquote rebel. I never went against, I've always gone against the grain. But I don't know. I still feel like there's a selfishness in her, but you have to kind of be selfish when you are following your own path.
All right, so let's take it back to the episode where they were in the restaurant, right? They weren't going to be served.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I loved that scene when she was like, let's get the fuck
right. And remember, she couldn't drive the car.
Oh, yeah. And she was like, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm out. And you know what? That's how I feel I would be, too. Because when I'm driving, I'm ready to go.
Right. You know what I mean? So imagine she wasn't who she was, and she was, okay, no, you guys drive.
Right. Like, we have to get out of here.
But,
you get in.
Yeah. She took get in the driver's seat.
And you're right.
Like,
she took charge.
Right.
She definitely took charge of that situation.
Back to, what Dick Gregory said, I think that was very important to see, Yeah. Like, let them take charge. Like, what are we doing? What are we even talking about here?
Right. Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. I don't know, where else can we take this conversation? Because I want the audience, and again, if you're listening to this, we are discussing Lovecraft Country. You can find it streaming on HBO. I'm not sure where everybody else is, and I just want to say hello to my audience. So just to let you know, Mackenson, I have an audience base in Germany. Those are my faithful followers, actually.
Shout out to Germany.
Yeah. I don't know why you guys are listening, but please keep listening and sharing. I really do appreciate it.
No, and let me take the time out because I didn't get to at the top, and I really wanted to. I think this is a very dope idea.
Thank you.
I think this is very creative. And I thank you for having me.
Well, I thank you for sharing the platform with me and like going on this journey and helping to kind of just like build the discussion, because I do think it is important just for the world to recognize that there is talent throughout the Black diaspora. And hopefully as the podcast grows, I would like to delve into African cinema and films and Brazilian films. Wow. Oh, hello to Brazil, because that's my other
Brazil. What's up?
And the Netherlands. The Netherlands. That's another one.
Shout out to y'all.
And
what's up?
my newest followers are in South Africa. So
hey,
So,
what's up, y'all?
So you guys, please, check out this series and follow along with us. And if you have any recommendations, you could definitely leave them wherever you're streaming this on. You could probably, Spotify is usually probably the best platform, even though I know a lot of you guys do listen to it on Apple as well. And yeah, just send a message of any type of Black cinema television series that you think would be worth watching and discussing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like,
nah, do that.
Yeah, I would really, really appreciate that.
Especially if it's like some of your favorite shows, favorite movies, something that was impactful to you. The same way that we want to share Lovecraft with you guys, it would be dope for you guys to share some things with us.
Yeah, I mean, because it's great to kind of diversify your way of thinking. And especially with the Black family, you know, I think there's this idea that all Black people are the same just because we share the same skin tone, but we don't. We have like different cultures.
Absolutely.
We have different ways of living. We have different ways of thinking. And
different
experiences, and they're not all the same. And I think that's just the best way for us to kind of show appreciation for each of our stories, you know, and to really show appreciation for like our struggles, our triumphs. And I think the film is the best way, right? You know, storytelling is the best way to reflect on that.
Absolutely.
So we've been doing this, you know, almost for 30 minutes. And since we're going to be doing this like another, you know, 7 times,
right.
You know, maybe we might cut this short.
Okay.
I don't even know. It's not even cutting it short,
No,
of.
Yeah.
I think we had a pretty like good conversation.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I'm sure we'll touch back up on it.
Yeah.
For the next episode and things of that nature.
Yeah, as we kind of like get into like the flow and the rhythm of everything.
Absolutely.
So this episode, Sundown, would you recommend this episode?
I want to really put some thought into it. Yes. If you're gonna open up a show and you're gonna, you know, introduce characters and you're gonna still leave a hint of suspense and what happens next, this is definitely a great episode. Yes, I would recommend.
All right. So you heard it from Mackenson. He recommends it. I recommend it because we're obviously watching the series over again. But you know, you never know. Well, yeah, this episode I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, well, thank you, audience, for being with us again. I'm Fox Indigo, and you're listening to Fox on Flix. Also, check out some past episodes. There is the episode on passing that you can find streaming on Netflix, which is about 2 light-skinned Black women who are living 2 completely different lives during the Harlem Renaissance. Also, just recently, I did a recording for Soul Food, which is also streaming on HBO. It's on Amazon, and I believe it's also on Hulu. So please check that out as well. And again, stay tuned for the future episodes of Lovecraft Country that I'm going to be doing with Mackenson. And if you know anyone who's into film or television shows that are across the Black diaspora, please share that with them as well. I really do appreciate the time listening and just, being here with me and just, sharing this space. So come back again. Love you. Please listen later. Love, kisses, and hugs. That's a wrap.